Parks Board meeting for the approval of locations and models of fitness equipment to be placed along Cadwell Park perimeter loop via donations and related materials and labor.
I'll preface this, and if somebody wants to jump in, they're welcome to, and if not, I may be able to explain it well enough. But Courtney and Emily who's with us here tonight, have been pursuing some funding to be able to place 3 different station areas around the Cadwell Loop. One behind Cadwell Stadium, just east of Field A over there at the corner of Minnesota and 15th. Another would be on the bypass side near the restrooms, kind of at the south end of the fence by the practice fields, closer to Jeremy's maintenance building. And the third one would be in front of the middle school, that expanded boulevard section that's about 300 yards long across the street, across the first portion of the street, the access road to the middle school. That is city land as well, parkland, and that'll be another 4 pieces of equipment. What they're looking at is the 15 that I have shown on the screen here, but of those, there would be just 12 of them. Initially, it was going to be the top 12, but we found that we may have access to some other grant funding if we include a handicap piece in each of those stations and be able to label them as handicap accessible equipment at each of those sites. So that's why we're looking at alternates of one of these 3 at each of those stops as well.
You're looking at them in place of one of the other ones?
Correct.
In place of it.
I don't have groupings of how those, so Emily, if you'd want to fill in a little bit, did you have it in mind of how they would be grouped? She's going to step up to the.
I'll step up here so you can hear me better. My initial thoughts, just being in the fitness profession, is I'd have a lower body, maybe 2 lower body, 1 upper body, or vice versa, kind of like opposing muscle groups. You know, I'm not going to have a push-up station and a chest press station at the same one. You know, we're going to split those up, so it kind of.
Push up and pull up together, leg extension, leg curl together, that type of thing. If there was
Yeah, we
such
want to
a
have,
class.
you know, opposing muscle groups. So we said 3 to 4 at each station, I think, when we drove around there. So that way it's more full body in case someone doesn't do the full loop. So that would be our intentions.
As long as we got her at the microphone, any other specific questions that you have of Emily that might be appropriate here?
I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll start with one. So as far as maintenance goes, with this being exposed to hot and cold here,
Mhm.
because it's never hot and cold here, what's the durability that you're looking at in this equipment? Because it's kind of expensive, but how expensive is it for maintenance?
It's supposed to withstand all of the elements. I think there's a park in Sioux Falls, if I'm not mistaken, that has some of this. And they would have a concrete slab, I think, under all of them, I think is what we ultimately are deciding and planning. And then they'd have to be obviously off the sidewalk a little ways, and who's going to use them in the wintertime? And we talked about snow removal with Jeremy, and God bless you if you're going to use them in the wintertime here. I hope you bring a pair of gloves. But
And snowshoes.
yeah, I think it would be, minimal snow removal in the winter just because of lack of use in the winter. But as far as like maintenance, it's supposed to be very minimal, and those are the pieces that we're shooting for. Like the uneven bars, the monkey bars, stuff like that, the step up. There's no moving parts on those. So they're supposed to be very durable, and our goal is to make it a majority of those pieces to start with.
So you guys are thinking concrete underneath?
Hope so.
Concrete and anything that has an overhead use, like the climb ladder type of thing, it needs to have an impact in absorbing surface on it, be it engineered wood chips or some type of rubber surface.
maybe that's where all of our branches could be ground up.
It's way more technical than that. It really is.
Yeah.
Actually, it kind of looks like most of those.
It does, but it's,
Real similar.
Is that rubber? The rubber
no, the engineered wood, the reason that they're picked the way they are is for splinters. So like,
Oh,
I mean, when we order it, you're ordering, it's specifically playground mulch. That's what it is for, and that's its only use. Yeah.
okay. Okay.
So whatever the powers that be decide it needs to be, that's what it is.
So
And
how's
it's a
that
softer
gonna impact
wood.
the-
Yeah, it's like it
as
doesn't
far as
splinter. So
Keeping the grounds, you know, when they mow with those big mowers, there's no obstacle right now, except for the little bit of trees and the fence,
Right,
so.
so the concrete wouldn't be elevated. If there is, let's say, a 6-foot connecting sidewalk over to it, it'd be at ground level, so they could drive right across that.
Is that for like the handicap that you're talking, the
Right.
sidewalk?
So
So
there'd be a
that's what you would.
5-foot wide sidewalk going up to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
That way it's accessible for everybody.
okay.
Mm-hmm,
And you can mow over it.
correct.
mm-hmm.
Over the sidewalk.
Right, and there'd be enough of a buffer of concrete from the equipment so that there wouldn't be the equipment hanging out to get bumped by a mower.
Yep.
Or a weed whacker or something.
Correct.
Do they do that? Is that gonna increase the time?
It
for the
shouldn't,
park guys?
I can't say it won't, but it shouldn't, because it'll be up and down again at ground level, so, yeah.
He's all like, yes, it will. Are they okay with it?
I didn't say it won't.
Are-
Jeremy's been involved in the conversations and
Favorable or,
being a former high school and college athlete himself, he knows the importance of exercise, so I think he's going along with this wholeheartedly, but not kicking and screaming anyhow.
No, we're favorable of it. There'll be a little more maintenance. There's, hopefully, with the equipment, it's not the equipment breaking down. I see more of a vandalism
I was gonna.
maintenance, but
Yeah, so what's the plans for that, the vandalism idea? Not that we wanna,
You tell me, how do you prevent vandalism?
I don't know.
they're close
You
enough to
don't.
the bike path, close enough to streets
Is it
where there
lit?
is lights.
So that's another question. So if you're gonna put this equipment out in these specific spots, is it lit up for those individuals who work maybe
There's not targeted lighting for each of those spots right now.
We have discussed it, but it's not in the plans
Okay.
yet.
I was gonna ask, I'm gonna drive by there here in a little bit, but what is the street light situation? Cause a little light would be,
Mm-hmm.
like you could do something at 6 o'clock in the winter, in the fall, when it's dark, if there's a street light on the corner, so. Especially if the one, the two on Minnesota, if there happened to be a street light
Mm-hmm.
semi-close, would be favorable locations.
Right, one on Minnesota and 8th is a little more treed in that boulevard area, so I'm not certain that a light would carry into it. There's trees on both the north and south edge of it.
Yep, both sides.
But not even, if you're looking at location and picking a location to maybe have some light, that would be, if there is light there, it would be awesome.
The ones on 8th Street in the middle school will be more towards Minnesota than spread out the whole way. So if someone's just walking down Minnesota, they could utilize
They see as
that
a
easier.
Stop at, rather
Yeah.
than having to do the whole loop.
Is there-
Instead of spreading 4 out the whole way, there'll be 4 of them closer towards the east on Minnesota.
I want to say there's maybe not, I want to say there's a light.
There's got to be a light on the corner. And there's got to be a light on the corner of 15th in Minnesota, but I'm not sure where the light is on the
I don't know if
bypass.
it's on the northwest or if it's on the southwest,
It's
I'm not sure.
northwest.
right, because that's that empty line.
It's not, yeah, it'd have to be,
And I walk it all the time, and not at
it's
night.
got to be, it's got to be by the apartments there, if there is one. I would think.
Or on the southeast corner.
On northeast.
Who's thinking of-
Yeah, or the southeast corner. Because there's not one on the lot across the street, and there's not one in the spot that we're going to put it.
Right, so that means,
I would think there's a light there, I guess. I've never noticed, but that's a busy enough corner. Same with 8th in Minnesota.
I would say if you're riding it or running it at night, you're aware that there's not light. If you're out there using it regularly, and maybe you're running with a headlamp or you're biking with a headlight, then you would have light of your own.
unless they're LED, they'd all three be metered separately, otherwise it'd be a long run of wire you can go from light to light on different corners of the park out there.
No, I don't think light is necessary. I'm just hoping that there's light nearby for a little, yeah.
So you think, Jeremy, that there's a possibility of running into a pole push like the fences have with this stuff? Where frost is pushing them out of the ground, the eave? Or this is a whole different operation installing these?
It'll be bolted down, so if worst came to worst, on that portion that's over near where that, it'd be north of the shed.
Mhm.
And it's not quite as low going to the north of that shed.
We put a lot of fill in there, and we kind of picked these spots where we didn't have to put fill from the bike path. So that's pretty level between the west shop, the bike path, and a little bit north by,
I
there's
just don't want to put all this stuff in,
Yeah.
and 2 years later, they're a foot and a half out of the ground, you know?
Well,
Like
is
your
there gonna
shop.
have to be special
Like our shop.
drainage? If you're putting a concrete pad out there,
We talked about that in terms of whether or not we have to drain underneath something, because it's pretty close to that low spot, pretty
oh,
close
that
to
you
the
guys are
trail.
talking, okay. I don't really pay attention that much. When I ride a bike, I'm just, you
How
know,
much really important for you?
safety is not part of it, it's just
Fun,
really,
exercise.
yeah. So I didn't know, how big is your concrete pads that you have to put through this equipment?
Well, I think it'll vary depending on the piece, because each piece, some are bigger and have a bigger footprint, and
It'd
some
be
don't
5 to
need.
6 feet off of at least 2 sides of it.
Oh,
To be able to get a
5, 6.
wheelchair on the pad,
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
in some cases.
yeah, for the accessible ones.
I don't know exactly if all of them need that, but
Right.
for the handicap accessible ones, you need 2 sides of 6 feet, I believe. I talked to some of the engineers about handicap accessibility, but it's a little different with exercise equipment. You at least need a sidewalk up there for the handicap ones, 6 feet on 2 sides, so a wheelchair can turn around, but I don't know if you need that on the other ones. Excuse me. If you have one handicap accessible piece of equipment in a group of 4. But at least the concrete will go at least to the edge of all equipment that hangs out and a little bit more, because I don't want to get clipped by a mower or
Right,
anything like that.
right. Keep it-
Would it be more, would it be more beneficial to put all of the handicap on the corner of 15th and?
Put them all in one area.
That each station couldn't be labeled handicap accessible.
They couldn't, no, but then the handicapped people might not, they might like that because it's all in one location and they don't have to go so far.
Or they might not, because it's
But
not
they-
all inclusive
Exactly.
at each
yeah.
station. We talked about that too, and kind of came up with a census that one piece of handicap equipment per each station, and then each station is accessible if need be. Everyone's included at each station.
And otherwise, one might be least used of all of them as well, if it was all the accessible pieces at one spot.
And then would help with,
With the handicap idea in different spots, is the sidewalk and all the walkways to these pieces good? Because I've been on the sidewalk and some of them are a little bit shady
yeah,
as far as, would they travel around 39 to get to the different spots versus Minnesota? Are those roads or those pathways to those pieces of equipment where they might be set up, are they good usable walkway? Because,
the ones that are there now.
Yeah, the ones that are there now.
so,
We have a couple that are getting worked on, or
Okay.
going to get worked on with.
And we had conversations.
Some heaving with-
yesterday again
yep.
not just with you, but with engineering. Jeremy.
But I would like to, it's going to cost a little more, but each station to have like a U shape off of the bike path. So then each station is connected to the sidewalk.
gotcha.
And
'Cause I know that
that's
was-
going to cost a little more. I mean, I think you technically only have to have a sidewalk up to a handicap accessible one.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, you might as well make it look good. You might as well make it fully accessible.
Right. Yeah, because you're not going to use it. I mean,
And it will save if we do have to do some snow or we do have to go clean a sidewalk, you can start in one spot and go to another. Instead of, if we got 3 feet of snow, we got a snow blower, it's not very easy to turn around a snow blower and
sure.
head back the other way.
How's the fundraising coming?
Well, we're kind of at a halt right now. I mean, we're
They
kind
might
of
be able to
waiting.
Announce it.
We are waiting to announce it because we need approval. Because I'm not gonna put something out there and then we both talked, we don't wanna put something out there and then somebody comes back and said, have you approved this with Parks and Rec? And then our whole project is, kibosh. So, we do have a little bit from the United Way. And then we've got a couple other grants that we're working on, and then Thomas has graciously volunteered his time to work on some other grants as well. So, and then our plan is to go to businesses in the community, and maybe see about them sponsoring a piece or two. I know 3 for sure, 2 might be my own, that will, put forth some money for some pieces. So I'm hoping we can get some funding that way. And then our goal is to get the concrete, hopefully, donated as well.
What's your timeline? So once it gets approved and stuff, are we looking 2025?
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, we talked about maybe it could be 2 years out. It just depends on how quickly we can get our funding and get, pieces coming. And, obviously we have to have our finances in order first, but
Yep, and labor, if they're looking at volunteer or some partially donated labor, then it needs to line up with what that business has going on.
we do have we started a nonprofit. So Courtney and myself, we put on a lot of events in the community, races, the triathlon, mountain bike race, Cranksgiving, and we'll probably add more to it. And just from us creating that nonprofit, we have easily 20 grand already starting in that account. The triathlon's been around for 7-8 years now. So just all of the additional funds from those events are gonna be put forth toward this effort. So that was kind of the goal of creating that nonprofit. So, yeah.
I guess my only, I don't know if it's a concern, because vandalism, you're not gonna stop it, but with the middle school being right there, it's kind of a hot spot for kids to get dropped off right there.
So the least moving parts on a station such as right in front of there would be ideal.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting at, as far as the stuff that nobody's gonna walk by and be able to slam as they're getting out of their car and walking in, or waiting for somebody to pick them up.
Yep.
There's also too, at the middle school, when the most kids are there, there's the most traffic getting dropped off and
Yeah.
picked up. So there's
Yeah.
plenty of people around. It'd be later at night when it gets.
That's gonna happen, any other time is gonna happen at either location. Just the equipment there that needs to be the easiest to not
Least
have to
breakable.
fix.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are all things that, we've taken into consideration and will continue to as we get the pieces and decide where to place them.
Right, there may be some deciding after they arrive too, when we look at them and say,
And say, oh, this needs to go here and here, and, yeah.
any other questions, concerns?
I don't really have any concerns about vandalism. I think you're not going to stop it. I think we were in a meeting once and, I think it was brought up that if we stop stuff because of vandalism, we'd never do anything in this town. It's just true. So the one thing I would say is in our parks, for some reason, they don't really vandalize the slides or the monkey bars. They vandalize the bathrooms. So as long as we don't put a bathroom there, we should be all right. So.
Everybody good? Then I need a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve the 3 locations.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Do I need
Awesome.
to do a motion to adjourn the meeting? No, okay. Meeting adjourned.